Consider this. Now, you've heard this before, but I'm going to try and talk about it in a bit more detail and with a bit more depth. Imagine or consider that you've designed your experience in its entirety. You have designed your life watertight, wall to wall, 100%, absolutely every single moment and occurrence. There is no accident, coincidence, bad luck, any of that stuff. That's all an escape for us to go, oh, that wasn't because of me. That's because they did this to me. So we're trying to get away from that. We're trying to be empowered, be responsible. So if we design this, every aspect, there's the potential and there's those areas of your life that you struggle with, or that you're maybe unhappy in the relationship or the job, or there's little aspects that just aren't working maybe, or that you're just thinking this is fucking clunky or whatever. The reason is that you don't have enough awareness of the situation or consciousness to see the purpose of this, to work through what this is. So we're constantly drawing in challenges. If you want to run a marathon, you've got to train for it. You've got to train for months. You've got to build up your fitness, get your muscles. You probably get injured along the way, and eventually, on the day, you might be able to complete the marathon, hopefully. So, with running a marathon, there's just one thing. Each week, you've got to try and put in so many miles, and you've got to try and stick to that, try and eat well, try and get rest, just try and keep plodding along, keep going. We're running fucking 10 marathons at the same time. And the reason we're running 10, the reason that we're trying to spin the plates, we're trying to get the fucking relationship under control, the right job, my health, fuck, I'm getting older, but do I have enough money to pay my mortgage? The kids are like, fuck, they got to be picked up from school. There's all these things that we're trying to do at the same time. It's kind of overwhelming. We don't have enough time or attention span to work through. If we had one thing, we could go, that's my thing. I have the time, I'm going to focus on that. The reason we have loads of things is that there was a time when we had one thing and we worked through it. So there was a time when we were awakened, ascended, whatever term you want to use, and we lay in the sun on the beach and we ate lovely food and we drove nice cars and we had plenty of money and everything was just fucking effortless. But that gets boring for everybody. Everyone eventually wants to run the marathon. They want a bit of a challenge. You know, it's kind of like, it's a bad example perhaps, but it's like, you know, the wives of very rich men, or the husbands of very rich women, or the royals, or people who just kind of have it all handed. They can self-destruct, or they have to kind of find pet projects. They have to find something to do. They have to try and start a business or become a fucking artist, or, you know, they have to put their energy into something because it's all just too easy. That's the kind of being we are. Like, we want to flex our muscles. We want to expand and see, am I capable of this? Can I run the marathon? Can I do these things? Now that we're running 10 to fucking 30 marathons, we're thinking, I just want to lie on the beach. I just want to have plenty of money and be able to enjoy life. Forgetting that we've been there. So if we can kind of take ownership and say, okay, I've designed the 30 marathons. That sounds a bit overwhelming, but maybe life can be overwhelming. I've designed these, let's say 11. Can I work through them? Immediately we're kind of empowered and we can kind of go, okay, if I've designed this, how can I work through this? How can I get to the other side of this? Or you don't even need to get to the other side. Once things are moving, we feel better. We're in it. We're in the work. Things are transforming. There is progress happening. There's things shifting. That's brilliant. That's makes me feel good. Makes me feel things are moving. And what's stopping us is, if you're not sitting down, you're going to need to sit down for this. I'm going to say that the trigger words that really activates me to want to strangle people. You don't need to figure out what's going on. There is nothing to figure out. All we need to do is process the emotions and bank the emotions, and then things transform. As we bank them, there will be a greater awareness and expansion. The The irony is that as we step out of the mind and we step out of the analysis, we get clarity. But some of us are so fucking conditioned to, and there's so much energy in the mind. I think I've talked about this before, that I don't feel that chakras are open or closed. I feel they are moving, depending on who we're with, depending on how much rest we've had, depending on how we feel. We're a bit more open, we're a bit more closed today. It changes. But generally, heart chakras are more on the closed direction. So we have all this, as this world is changing and as we're waking up and becoming more aware, we have all this fucking powerful God energy that can manifest, that can heal, that can transform. That energy is shooting up past the heart into the head and giving us fucking information. So we're reading books and we're watching videos and we're trying to figure out what does this mean? Why is this person here? Trying to analyze it. It's all useless. It's useless information. The irony is, as we step away from that and become present, how does the core feel? How does my body feel? What energy is passing through me now? Witness it, feel it, observe it. Observe the air, the sunshine, the birds, the people. What does my food taste like? As I'm present, I get insights. I get little snippets that develop. It's like, this is what's happening here. This is what I should do with this person or say to this person, or this is how I work with this person. The guidance comes. We already intuitively know all of this. We know how to get through all of these challenges already. We're not fucking stupid. We are ascended, enlightened. We are God consciousness. But it's the human ego that's trying to, with very limited capabilities and information, trying to decipher how to run this marathon. And the human ego really is, it's a fucking war zone. It's a battlefield of snippets of limited... I'm labouring the point. You get my point. So let's take this to a higher level. This is the level where some listeners get angry at me and some people close the video. But we'll carry on. Consider this. If you've designed these difficult people in your life, or the clunky relationship, or your health, or whatever it is, you can work through all that. And I'm in a second, I'm going to come back to my own experience, because I don't live the harmonious fucking flowing lifestyle. My life exploded a few years ago, and I've had to face my own hell, which year one I just wanted to project it and blame other people and blame the universe and blame my higher self and not understand. So it's been quite a fucking hard journey to take responsibility, but I'll tell you about that. So if we take it to the higher level, there's a lot of projection of the out there, in the sense that, and I am an anarchist. Anarchist means no rulers. It does not mean no rules. It does not mean chaos or burn buildings. If anything, anarchists, true anarchists, are possibly the most peaceful people there are here, because they believe in voluntary interaction. Government is not voluntary. It's coercive. Our money is taken, our taxation is taken without our permission. Now, some may say social contract. I didn't sign any social contract, and I've looked for it. It doesn't exist. And if it did exist, I ain't signing it, because I don't want my money going to these people that are satanic paedophiles and all the rest of it. I don't want it going to fund wars or any other shit that I have public schools I have no interest in. I don't want my money going to that. So I've designed my world to have all these triggers for me and challenges. Potential forced vaccinations, multiple wars, God knows what type of non-human politicians and leaders, all these layers of intrusion of the state. But in taking full responsibility for that, I've designed my journey to have all of these barriers to me, and it's my responsibility and my journey to overcome them. Now, some may say get out in the streets and protest the fucking Federal Reserve or Donald Trump or whoever you want. And I went down that road initially, and I thought, we got to fight these people or fight these things or these experiences. We got to stop taxation. We got to stop all this kind of stuff. Gave a lot of energy to it. And then as part of my journey, I realised, that is not sitting with me anymore. Some people still obviously have to get complete with that, and that's okay. But I realise now that this is all my perception of these things. And as I clear my stuff, my reaction to these things, my energy and frequency rises. I'm free. I'm freer. They can't touch me. Plus, there are multiple worlds. There's multiple realities. So if we're triggered, let's say, by Donald Trump, and we're constantly arguing about Donald Trump and complaining about him, we're going to live in a reality with Donald Trump, where he's doing more and more things that trigger us and grant us that fucking reality. If we can, and I don't mean ignore Donald Trump, I mean face it. I mean face the pain or the anger or the whatever it is. Now this is about everyone. This is about the fucking liberals with 100 genders, vegans trying to stop us all eating meat, or people trying to stop us driving cars because it's polluting the planet. All these people who are trying to stop us doing something. If they're triggering me, and at times they do, as I clear that resonance within me, they don't trigger me anymore. I don't give a fuck what they say or what they're doing. I can't be touched. They can't get to me. And I move to a higher frequency or a higher earth where these things don't affect me. Now, your mind might kind of go, well, they can still tax you, or they can still do this and that, and they still do tax me. I haven't got beyond that. But it doesn't affect me as much. It did a lot. It still does a little bit. But you know those people who they just got a feeling to not get on the train or get in the plane, or their taxi was late and the plane crashed. Something intervened in them to bring them to a different reality, not the reality of the plane that crashes. So as we clear our stuff, we're bringing ourselves to a higher reality, that we're not expressing all that kind of rage, anger, disempowerment, because we're feeling that they control our money, they control the vaccines, they control this, that and that. There are entities feeding off us, they're controlling our politicians, they're trying to keep us asleep, keep us down. But consider this, to come full circle. You're controlling you. You're challenging you. You can look within and observe, what kind of being are you? You can observe your feelings, process and integrate those feelings, and maybe receive guidance. Or you can look out and you can see all the things that are against you, and there's lots of them, and eventually you'll probably kill yourself, or some people, many people do, because it just seems too much. And we get lost in the out there, in all the stuff that is against us, and the people who are against us, or beings who are against us. So we're, as I've said many times, and Eckhart Tolle says it in his own words, he says hypnotized by form, and I've always been saying hypnotized by the third dimension. We believe this place. We believe Brazil is on fire, the rainforest. We believe that it needs to be saved. We believe Donald Trump is a problem. We believe all these things. We carry that energy around with us. We're convinced that all this, that the computer game is real. But if we can step back a bit and look within and observe ourselves, that out there has less resonance or relevance, and we get some perspective of how important or unimportant it is. And we may even laugh and kind of think, this is just a fucking game. It doesn't matter. So my life totally kind of exploded, deconstructed just over 3 years ago, when an 11 year relationship ended, and I moved into my car. I had nowhere to go, and I had pretty much no money, and I had moments of not knowing what to do with my last 20 euros. Do I put petrol in the car, or do I eat? And I was in a 20-year-old car with no, it was 20-year-old. It had no NCT, so it was illegal on the roads in a sense. I could sleep in the driver's seat, and I couldn't cook in it, obviously. I just had surrounded by shopping bags of food and dirty clothes, and it was just survival mode. And, all power and respect to Susan, who's a woman who I basically complained to for a long time, but certainly for year one, she got a lot of it, and I didn't know what was happening, and I didn't know why. I'm in this car, and why, I hoped to be able to manifest, and I hoped for a fucking change, but it was really just survival. But I don't want to go through the whole story. I will in another stage. But long story short, 3 years into it, I realized that I designed all of that. I designed, and I still live in my car 3 years on. I designed all this experience to burn out all my anxiety and fear, because I had to face an awful lot of it. To burn out a lot of my ego, there's more to go, of status, of what I wanted to be, of who I thought I was. That I wanted to be successful, I wanted to have money, I wanted to have a nice car and a nice house and a nice partner, all these things. There's nothing wrong with them. But if we're empty, if we have no self-esteem, we attach to these things, and these things become our identity. So I needed to get to a point where I'm enough. I am God consciousness. Whether I live in a car or live in a doorway or whatever I do, these things are just experiences I'm having. So I have a YouTube channel, and I'm an energy worker / energy healer. These are things that I do, but they are not my identity. And there was a time when, during these 3 years, as I spoke about in another video, where they would have become my identity, because I was so empty. I needed to attach my identity or self-esteem to something. I'm a counselor. I'm an energy healer. I'm a shaman. I'm a whatever. I'm actually none of these things. They're experiences I'm having. They're one piece of a million-piece jigsaw. So they are a piece of me, but they're a tiny piece. I'm far more greater than that. So if I have the money, if I have the nice car, it's not my identity. And we all do that to a degree. Women do it a lot with their looks. Men do it a lot with status. That as the looks fade, or men as they retire, or if they lose their jobs, a lot of men die. They have heart attacks, or they kill themselves, or they just go drinking. They don't really have any purpose anymore. They feel that their purpose is their career or their job. But we're at a stage where we're finding that we are far more than any of these things. There's more depth to us. Now, I know everyone listening to this agrees with that. And I knew that intellectually for all my life. I've been meditating for fucking, 20 odd years. I've been reading spiritual books and contemplating this stuff for 20 odd years. But it took until 3 years ago to actually face it and experience it. That there's a difference between knowing intellectually that I am enough and actually being faced with it. If all my stuff, all my crutches are taken away from me, can I still say I'm enough? If I'm living in a 20-year-old car and I'm fucking freezing cold, I'm surrounded by takeaways and dirty clothes, and I have no friends, and I have no money coming in, can I, in those moments, can I connect with my own heart to myself and feel that I'm enough? That I'm okay, that I am God consciousness? And I had to have that moment, and a number of those moments. And that's where my course of shadow work developed from. That I had to go to that point to realize that I am enough. If anyone comes to me and they say that they feel that there are entities feeding off them, or that their husband is an asshole, or their wife, or their fucking boss, or whatever, I'm there. I've spent 3 years there. And the years up to that, being fucking broken down for years. It didn't just start 3 years ago. It started years and years ago. But so I've been slowly broken down, and then in the last 3 years it just fucking hit bottom and lost everything. Lost everything to kind of find who I am. I know what I'm talking about for me, and it's up to you listening to this to feel if this resonates with you, and it might not, and that's cool. It doesn't have to. But just to consider that everything is, you're designing all of it. You're presenting every little minute challenging experience to you. It's your responsibility to know how to read that and work with that. And it's not through the mind. It's not figuring out. It's feeling. By feeling what it is, we evolve through it, and it passes. It changes. And also we realize that it's not that painful. It's the mind that tells us, like, this will kill me, this is just too much. It's the mind fucking screaming. You can stay out of the mind and just in the feeling. Honor how we feel. Your God consciousness, you're collecting and banking emotional feelings and experiences. So honor them. Honor what's presented. Anyway, that's enough. Thanks for listening.